I was inspired by, just this young generation coming up that I felt really, was speaking with an interesting and unique voice, but also, connected to sort of my generation too. And I was, particularly when I was listening to the music, being from California and Southern Cal, and listening to Kendrick Lamar and Odd Future and a lot of those groups, and knowing and seeing that a lot of them were from my neighborhood in the same places I was, but had this completely different point of view on it. I just felt like there was something in the air that felt right to kind of revisit some of the themes I've been dealing with in other films, but apply it to this generation. So that's kind of where it came from.
Were you a geek?
Yes and no. I mean, I think, again, whenever I was into a lot of different things, and I think when you don't quite fit people's expectations, they label it, and oftentimes it gets labeled nerd or geek. But there were other aspects of my life where I wasn't, but again, that was all a label. In my mind, that was just me. And so I think whenever you try to embrace your individuality, someone's going to call you something. Geek, sellout, whatever. And so I feel like I embodied it all, but I wanted this to sort of mean that, these kids think they're cool, and they are and would be in many other situations, but in their environment, they're considered geeks, because they just don't fit in with what everyone else is doing.
It was a bit semi-autobiographical in that way, wasn't it?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, a little bit. I think Malcolm's character and the way he sees the world is very much like how I see the world, and Malcolm was more sort of evolved and personally confident in his voice than maybe I was at his age, but I had some things I wanted to say, and I felt like, having kind of my voice in the middle of that would be interesting. So yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So how did you react to the material? I mean, when you first read it?
Oh, man, I thought it was written for me. Like, he already said, it's deja vu. I immediately connected to the character, to the script. And, yeah, I saw it, like the movie. I saw the movie when I was reading it.
So you a geek?
I'm different. I'm special. I'm comfortable being happy. I do things to make me happy. I like to excel at things. So that makes me a geek. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I am.
I thought the style was like pretty reminiscent of like 90s independent cinema. It was like a far cry away from all this like mumblecore.
Yeah,
it's kind of a style de jour in the film circuit.
Yeah. Like, I think there was a certain sense of style in the filmmaking and the writing. There's a certain sense of flair. I thought in the 90s, I think there was pushed by the culture. Hip hop, I think, was a big part of that too. I think, filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino sort of really vibed with what was going on in black culture, and sort of took that energy and put it into his films. And so, I wanted to sort of pay homage to that. And yes, I feel there's a hole in film slates that come out, and that there's not a whole lot that deals with just human drama or human comedy and human beings. Quite frankly, it's like you look at the next several weeks of films coming out, and there's a lot of robots and talking teddy bears and dinosaurs, and then we're like the only film with like all human beings throughout the whole movie.
No green screen either.
No green screen.
So can you talk about the casting? I mean, not just Mr. Moore here, but the rest of the group. Since there's a lot of young and fresh faces that have done stuff, but we haven't seen as much in newcomers.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was casting the young superstars, and the one thing that's always a frustration about working within the studio system is they have these big marketing teams and marketing groups, and they have their test and Q scores, and they tell you who's popular and who's not, and they look at A$AP Rocky and go, he's an unknown, you know. And I look at Rocky and I go, this guy's an international superstar, but they're just not connected in that way. So, you know, I think, you know, these folks are just now realizing how big a story it is. You know, they're like, oh, a lot of people want to talk to Rocky.
Was it like
but casting him, it was like, okay, who is this unknown? But I felt like I was getting just the young, this generation's, you know, Brat Pack, you know, these generations, the ones that are going to go on and do things. And so I knew it would mean bringing in relatively new faces, and whether that came from the world of music or fashion or anything else, it was just going to be about finding these individual voices. And so Shameik and Tony and Kiersey, and all of them came in and read and auditioned, including Rocky, who put himself on tape in London when he was at a show, and then came back in and auditioned when he got to Los Angeles, and he just, you know, embodied that role, and he brought such a different kind of point of view to it than I think people would be expecting. That was what I was looking for with each of the characters, for each one to kind of bring something slightly different than what everyone expected.
Yeah, Kiersey and Tony brought up about how you would do various combinations, like during the
chem reading.
Yeah, we had different chem readings. I mean, I had it in my mind. I pretty much knew that Shameik, Kiersey, and Tony were going to be my three. It sort of came down to Will and who Will was going to be, and there was a couple of guys that I wanted to see kind of interact with this group. I didn't want to say that's just, you know, specifically, so there were some other people who came in who were as well. But it was really to see what that would be like, and when Blake came in and interacted with these guys, it was just like, that's it, game over. You know, yeah, their energy and skills, and we got one of our biggest jokes out of that improv with the 14%, you know, came out of that whole audition session. So yeah, that was really to kind of get Will locked in, and Blake kind of came in and killed it.
Can you talk about, you know, you and Kiersey and Tony have such a natural chemistry, as if you guys did grow up together. I mean, how did you guys bond, working with them, building that rapport?
Yeah, well, Kiersey, I met her when I first went to LA, like the first trip to LA. We have a whole bunch of mutual friends, so we met like 4 years before we auditioned for them. I haven't seen her since I saw her that first time, so it was like, whoa.
Yeah, it was funny. They came in and like, oh, and I was like, oh, I guess I did something right. I get it, yeah.
So yeah, and Tony's like he's like, yeah, you guys met him. He's funny. He walks into a room and he'll make everybody laugh and whatnot. So it's easily, like, we all just immediately, after reading together and just catching that vibe, we're all like happy people, kids, and looking forward to the future, working hard. Different minds, like minds always just flock together, I think. And naturally, we're that chemistry. I mean, we see it on screen. It's in real life too. Yeah.
It translates.
It translates. Yeah.
Did you enjoy like playing in a band together, literally? You know?
Yeah. It's cool looking to the left and seeing Tony's Bible. It's cool doing that. You know, while I was back in Kiersey's. You know what I'm saying? It's cool.
We're working out the tour dates.
Yeah. No, but being, you know, a musician yourself, I mean, how was it working with Pharrell in the studio and, you know, getting to, you know, do some of his stuff that he wrote?
I mean, I was just happy to be able to work with.
But
I'm happy. I enjoyed being in his presence and taking in as much knowledge as possible, being able to, you know, have dialogue with a creative being like that, you know. Where's that dialogue going? What are we creating? Greatness, let me tell you. Greatness. And that was the energy, I think, that we felt like in that studio. It was just like the people in that room and their dedication to the same project and what we're all seeing, like the possibilities and what we want to create. And the words we're exchanging with each other and the energy we have while we're doing it. It all set the tone. I feel like it all.
Definitely.
It set the tone for what we were doing. We were creating something that is going to be historical.
Speaking of that, I love the last scene where you put the hood up. That just gave me chills. It kind of made me realize, like, throughout the whole film, there had been no, like, it was just a couple kids hanging out in California. It wasn't about the race, and it just, I don't know. I just was wondering what you thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, that was, because again, as I was writing the script, that was in the news. Obviously, the Trayvon Martin and many other incidents similar to that since then, and so. Yeah, I mean, I wanted the idea to be that once you got to this point in the film about identity and perception, that you realize that these are just kids, and he was just a kid. He could have been a punk and and a loud mouth and whatever else teenagers are, but his life had value and it didn't deserve to end because he's just a teenager being a teenager,
Yeah.
But we have this sort of warped point of view on young black men in this society that you have 12-year-old kids getting killed by law enforcement because they say they felt fear or threat, and so, and where does that come from? It comes from the fact that you don't see these kids as kids, you see them as something other, and so I wanted you to follow these kids through all their ups and downs, and then by the end of it just realize, oh yes, there are kids like these that die for many reasons, and and so much of it has to do with just this idea and perception. So very much on my mind, and something we debated a lot, and I debated internally as I was writing it, and even throughout the editing process, and was one of the last things that I dealt with in the cut before we went to Sundance was whether or not to include the line specifically. If I was white, would you ask that question? But I just felt like it was something that would be on everyone's mind, so you might as well have the character say it.
Last question.
So, especially for you, that whole Sundance and the con experience. I mean, going from this movie and someone under the film under the radar, more or less, and then becoming this big sensation at Sundance on the national scale, and then suddenly the world scale at Cannes most recently. I mean, how was that?
That was I mean, that was a great experience, man, and to be out there with the entire team and crew of folks was something. I mean, we knew we had something special. We felt like we were telling a great story, and we felt like it would connect if we got it made, but you never know what those degrees are going to be, and whether it's just going to be your mom and your aunt who love it, or it's going to be more. But
something special.
But we felt like this I feel has just sort of been a validation of what we sort of believed in from the beginning.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, what's next for you? I mean,
The Get Down.
Yeah.
The Get Down.
Netflix.
The Netflix
Yep.
series. Baz Luhrmann.
Oh yeah, that's right. And musically, just your SoundCloud and stuff like that.
Yeah,
or?
right now, 30058 is about to come out. That new project. Y'all get ready for that. It's
All
gonna
right,
be out.
thanks a lot, guys.